The Abbott government and Labor agree on one thing: this country's constitution must be changed. Our basic law must recognise that Aborigines are the first Australians, and most journalists agree. But many people I speak to are worried because this change is racist, and they do not want our constitution changed to divide we Australians by our race, to give us each different laws depending on whether we have some Aboriginal ancestors or not. In fact, so many people are worried that Aboriginal leader Noel Pearson this week offered what he called a compromise. Don't recognise Aborigines as first Australians in the Constitution, just in a normal law, symbolically.
I've come to see the value in pursuing symbolic and poetic recognition of the nation's history and heritage in a declaration. It can happen in a much richer and fuller way outside of the Constitution.
Journalists hailed this genius idea. The Prime Minister said he'd carefully consider Pearson's suggestion, and Labor demanded action.
I've got a lot of respect for Noel Pearson individually. What it now needs, though, is not just individuals offering their propositions. It's now a time for leadership.
But one thing was missed in praising Pearson. He does still want the Constitution changed so that our Parliament, which represents all Australians, regardless of race, must in future always consult another group of representatives, Aboriginal ones, about any matter affecting them.
Parliament should hear the views of Indigenous peoples in respect of proposed laws. There has to be a mandate in the Constitution for these bodies to be able to advise Parliament.
Now, that very idea is objectionable, racist. It is wrong to use the law to insist some of us are first Australians with extra rights because of the race of their ancestors, and everyone else are second Australians. It may be meant well, but it's still apartheid. It encourages people to think of themselves as racial types rather than Australians together. In fact, days later, we got a perfect example of what this kind of racial division leads to. The ABC interviewed very sympathetically a former SBS journalist who's the latest to declare an independent Aboriginal country.
I found Muramu Wallubarra Yidinji, the man who has renounced Australia. Backed by his tribal elders, he formally declared an area 1.5 times the size of Hong Kong to be Yidinji territory under control of the sovereign Yidinji government.
This is the Yidinji number plates. These were created and authorised through the sovereign Yidinji government. You either got to be Yidinji or you got to be Australian.
You may think, so what? This isn't serious. I mean, didn't whites have a Prince Leonard declaring his own Hutt River province? But there is a difference. First, many Aboriginal leaders say this is exactly the race-based division of Australia they want, or that they won't fight.
I am absolutely thrilled that he has found truth in his journey. The truth is that we are sovereign people of this country.
If Murama and others want to go down that track of identifying as separate sovereign nations, so be it. That's their right to do that.
There's also many reporters and academics to promote this racial division, with the next step a treaty, formally dividing us into racial sides.
The constitutional lawyer George Williams, we've spoken to him, he believes constitutional recognition is a possible first step towards a treaty.
And yes, changing the Constitution the way Labor and the Liberals want means activist judges get the power to say this apartheid is our future, is the law. Don't risk it. Say no to racism. Say no to laws to divide us by race.